In January 2026, something unprecedented happened in global trade. A shipment of Brazilian soybeans arrived in South Africa, paid for not in US dollars, but in a basket of local currencies and backed by a digital receipt tied to physical silver held in a Johannesburg vault. Around the same time, India purchased Russian oil using rupees, with the transaction settled through a new BRICS payment platform that used gold and silver as collateral to guarantee value stability. These weren't isolated experiments. They were early signals of a quiet revolution. The world's largest emerging economies are building an alternative financial architecture, one that reduces reliance on the US dollar and instead anchors trade in real assets like silver, gold, and critical minerals. Led by China, Russia, India, Brazil, and South Africa, and now expanded to include Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, the BRICS Plus bloc controls over 45% of global GDP, 60% of the world's population, and vast reserves of the commodities that power the modern economy. And increasingly, they're asking, why should trade between non-Western nations be forced through a currency controlled by a single country with its own geopolitical agenda? By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how BRICS is using silver, not just as a metal, but as a monetary tool, to create a parallel system of commerce, why this matters far beyond geopolitics, and what it means for your savings, your investments, and the future of money itself. To grasp the scale of this shift, we must first understand why the dollar became dominant in the first place. After World War II, the Bretton Woods system established the US dollar as the world's reserve currency, backed by gold and trusted due to America's economic strength and rule of law. Even after Nixon ended gold convertibility in 1971, the dollar remained central because of the petrodollar system, oil priced and traded in dollars, and the depth of US financial markets. For decades, this arrangement worked. Global trade flowed smoothly, and the U.S. enjoyed what economist Valéry Giscard d'Estaing called an exorbitant privilege, the ability to borrow cheaply and export inflation. But that trust has been eroding. The turning point came in 2022, when the U.S. and EU froze $300 billion of Russian central bank reserves held in Western institutions. It was a legally justified move after the Ukraine invasion, but it sent a chilling message to every nation holding dollar assets. Your savings are not truly yours if you fall out of favor with Washington. Since then, central banks from Beijing to Brasilia have accelerated efforts to diversify away from the dollar. According to IMF data, the dollar's share of global foreign exchange reserves has fallen from 73% in 2001 to just 58% in 2025, the lowest level in 2 decades. This isn't a collapse, it's a strategic realignment. Now enter BRICS Plus. What began in 2009 as an analytical acronym coined by Goldman Sachs has evolved into a geopolitical force. The bloc's expansion in 2024 to 2025 added key resource holders: Saudi Arabia, oil; Iran, copper, lithium; UAE, gold, logistics; and Ethiopia, critical minerals. Together, they control staggering resources: 65% of global lithium reserves, Chile, Argentina, Brazil, Zimbabwe; 58% of cobalt, DRC via BRICS partners; 42% of copper, Chile, Peru, DRC; over 1 million tons of annual silver production, Mexico, Peru, China, Russia. But more importantly, they share a common goal: monetary sovereignty. They don't want to replace the dollar with another fiat currency like the yuan or ruble, because those carry their own political risks. Instead, they're exploring a commodity-backed system where trade is settled in local currencies but stabilized by real assets. And silver, often overlooked next to gold, is playing a surprising role. Why silver? Because it's the perfect bridge between money and industry. Gold is primarily a store of value, dense, inert, and non-productive. Silver, by contrast, is both a monetary metal and an essential industrial input. It's used in solar panels, electric vehicles, semiconductors, and medical devices. In 2025, global industrial demand for silver reached 620 million ounces, nearly 75% of total supply. This dual nature makes it uniquely valuable in a system that seeks to link trade value to real-world utility. If a currency is backed by silver, its value isn't just abstract, it's tied to the physical economy. China has been the driving force behind this strategy. Since 2023, the People's Bank of China has quietly added over 65 million ounces of silver to its reserves, more than any other central bank in history. But it's not just hoarding. Through the Shanghai Gold Exchange, SGE, China has launched yuan-denominated silver contracts that allow international buyers to settle trades without touching the U.S. financial system. In 2025, these contracts accounted for 38% of global silver price discovery, up from just 12% in 2020. More critically, China is integrating silver into its digital yuan, ECNY, infrastructure. Pilot programs in Guangdong and Shenzhen now allow businesses to use ECNY tokens that are partially collateralized by physical silver held in state vaults. This isn't full backing, but it's a step toward asset-linked digital currency. Russia has taken a different path. Cut off from SWIFT and Western banking, it has turned to barter-like commodity swaps. In 2025, Russia exported 1.2 million barrels of oil per day to India and China, receiving payment in rupees and yuan. But those currencies were immediately converted into physical silver and gold, which were then used to purchase machinery, food, and technology from friendly nations. The Russian central bank now holds over 40 million ounces of silver, up from virtually zero in 2021. This creates a closed-loop system. Sell resources, get hard assets, buy what you need, all outside the dollar orbit. India and Brazil are focusing on trade settlement mechanisms. In late 2025, the Reserve Bank of India and Brazil's central bank launched a bilateral payment channel that allows exporters to invoice in rupees or reais, with exchange rates stabilized by a shared pool of silver and gold. The system uses blockchain ledgers to track ownership, but the underlying value is physical metal stored in Mumbai and Sao Paulo. Early results show a 22% reduction in transaction costs compared to dollar-based trade, because there's no need for correspondent banking, FX conversion, or SWIFT fees. The most ambitious project, however, is the BRICS Bridge, a proposed multilateral payment platform announced in 2025. Unlike a single currency, which members rejected due to sovereignty concerns, the bridge would function as a clearinghouse for local currencies, with values anchored to a basket of commodities: 40% gold, 30% silver, 20% oil, and 10% critical minerals like copper and lithium. Transactions would be settled in real time, with smart contracts automatically adjusting for commodity price fluctuations. Crucially, the system would be decentralized. No single nation controls it, and interoperable with existing national digital currencies. While still in development, pilot corridors between China, Saudi Arabia, and India, UAE are already live, handling over $12 billion in monthly trade. For ordinary people, the implications are subtle but profound. If BRICS succeeds in creating a viable alternative, the dollar's exorbitant privilege will gradually fade. That means higher borrowing costs for the U.S. government as foreign demand for treasuries wanes, more volatile import prices as the dollar weakens and loses its stabilizing role, new investment opportunities in commodities, mining, and non-dollar assets. But it also means greater financial fragmentation. Imagine a world where you can't easily send money to a friend in Brazil without converting through multiple systems, or where your retirement fund loses value because it's overexposed to a declining reserve currency. Stability gives way to friction. Yet this isn't about replacing the dollar overnight. No single commodity or currency can match the depth of U.S. markets. The real risk isn't collapse, it's bifurcation. We may be heading toward a two-system world, one centered on the dollar for Western-aligned trade, and another based on commodity-backed local currencies for the global South. This would increase transaction costs, reduce efficiency, and make global coordination on crises like climate change or pandemics far harder. So where does silver fit in? It's not the new gold. It's the lubricant of the new system, a high-volume liquid asset that can stabilize smaller transactions while gold anchors larger ones. Its industrial demand ensures constant turnover, preventing hoarding. Its lower price per ounce makes it accessible for everyday trade, and its dual nature, monetary and functional, gives it credibility that pure fiat lacks. Critics argue this is all theoretical. After all, commodity-backed systems failed in the past. But today's technology changes the game. Blockchain allows transparent, tamper-proof tracking of physical metal. Digital wallets enable instant settlement. AI-driven pricing models can adjust for volatility in real time. This isn't 19th century bimetallism. It's 21st century smart commodity money. Moreover, the motivation is stronger than ever. Sanctions, trade wars, and weaponized finance have made diversification a survival strategy, not a choice. As Saudi Finance Minister Mohammed al-Jadaan said in 2025, no nation should be held hostage by the monetary policy of another. For investors, the takeaway is clear. Silver is no longer just an industrial metal or a speculative play. It's becoming a strategic reserve asset, one that central banks, corporations, and even individuals may hold not for yield, but for optionality. In a fragmented world, optionality is power. Of course, challenges remain. BRICS members disagree on many things. India and China are rivals, Russia is isolated, and Gulf states hedge between East and West. Building trust in a shared system takes time, and the U.S. won't stand idle. It's already strengthening dollar alliances through initiatives like the America's Partnership for Economic Prosperity and the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. But the direction is clear. The era of unquestioned dollar dominance is ending. Not with a bang, but with a series of bilateral deals, digital pilots, and vaults filling with silver. The question isn't whether a new system will emerge, it's how fast, how stable, and who will control it. If you want to understand the hidden architecture of money, trade, and power in our changing world, without hype, fear, or oversimplification, subscribe to U.S. Silver Market. We deliver deep, fact-based analysis of the systems that shape your financial future, because in an age of silent realignment, clarity is your strongest asset.